I look forward to this week because I know that deep down you think your team's going to win. You got to root for your team. You got to believe that team's going to win.
How well do you know me at this point? What are you talking about?
If the New York Rangers were getting ready to play the Islanders or the Devils, who they lost to over the weekend, by the way, a very good game, and it just goes to show you how good the skill is of those two teams. My point being is that I would be rooting for my team. I am not going into a game thinking that my team is going to lose. You can't do that.
Of course you can, and I've done it many, many times, and I will do it again. It doesn't mean you're not rooting for them to win. You just go in with the expectation that it's not going to happen. This has been written in stone. I've told you about this. The Minnesota Vikings world surrounds me. I am the reason. I feel like I need to apologize to Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, Kevin O'Connell, everybody on that team, Patrick Peters, everybody, because it is my fault that this is going to happen because I trashed the Giants in the beginning of the season as much as I did, and then now this whole season plays out, and now the Giants and Daniel Jones, who have been all over since he's been drafted into the league, will go into Minnesota, beat the Vikings, end my season. It's storybook is what it is. It's storybook.
I am really torn about this whole thing, I have to tell you. I said because, for the vast majority of Giant fans out there, my friends, I know that they're excited about being back in the playoffs, and yesterday's performance was actually gritty, if you want to describe it, how they played Philadelphia, and they made it tough on them.
Sure.
Especially from a defensive standpoint. And congratulations to Davis Webb throwing his first touchdown pass and Kenny Golladay.
Unbelievable. What a great catch.
Yeah, it was a great catch. So all of that. And I love the way his teammates reacted to him on the sideline. You could see that his teammates like him. Now, whether or not the Giant fan and the analyst alike appreciate the amount of money he's making in the production, that's a whole nother story. But it's obvious that his teammates like him as the way they reacted yesterday. But I have to say, here I am. I'm in a really weird position. Like for our show, it's great if the Giants win and they go on and they keep this ride with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane and Wink Martindale alive. And but then again, I know if they do, you are going to come in here supremely disappointed next Monday.
I won't because
I don't want it to
it's already over.
Us.
It's already over. That's the thing. I've already conceded. So I'm not going to come in here on Monday and be all upset about it. I'm already upset about it. It's already over. I told you 3 weeks ago this was going to happen.
This is the weirdest thing ever. I mean, I
told you 3 weeks ago. I know, but
it's like you can't feel that way about your team. You just
totally
can't.
Of course.
All right, now let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Giants go in there.
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones throws a 60-yard bomb.
Yeah.
With 5 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
And the Giants win by a point.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to come in here the next morning and you're going to be miserable because your team had the game right on their fingertips and then they lost it. I mean, I don't know how, like that, a loss like that. Like, in other words, you've said to yourself, my team's losing. I don't care. But if
I didn't say I don't care. I care.
I mean, you care. Obviously,
I care deeply about it, but I already know what's going to happen in the future.
If your team gets blown out by the Giants, that's a different story because that's what you're making it sound like. They shouldn't even play this game. The Giants are going to win.
I don't think they're I don't think that it's going to be a blowout either way. I don't think that either one of these teams are really capable of that. I think it'll be a close game, and it'll be one of those things where, you've got the Minnesota Vikings who won 11 games, 11-0 in one-score games.
Yeah, I know.
But they will lose this one-score game in the playoffs. Just like Gary Anderson in 1998 was the first field goal kicker in the history of the NFL not to miss a kick in a regular season, had a kick under 40 yards to send them to the Super Bowl in the championship game and missed it. It's just one of those things. It's going to happen. So this is a good thing for people like Big Blue Travel, our friends over there, license plate guy, those who travel to every game. You can now, not only you could set up the whole Minnesota thing, but most likely because of what's going to happen between Seattle and San Francisco, you can get that trip to Philly already figured out. So you could get that going. It's an easy trip, and you can work a week ahead now because of the way that this worked out.
So you don't think Seattle's going to beat San Francisco?
Of course not.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
All
Give me a break. San Francisco, I mean, that team, even when they struggle, they look dominant.
But you have to also say, yesterday was unbelievable because, the Miami Dolphins sneak in with, a horrific performance by the Jets. And this is the thing. you never know what's going to happen with coaching staffs and everything else. So, Lovie Smith, they asked him after the game yesterday, are you worried about your job? No, I got my job. My players are playing for me. Essentially, that's what he's saying, and I'm paraphrasing that. Next thing you know, he gets in Houston, and he's let go of his job. So you never know what the owner and the GM are thinking. You just never know it from a coaching perspective, and that's why you got to be really, really careful with what you say, how you say it. Joe Judge talked himself into last year at this point in time losing his job.
The best thing that ever happened to the Giants, quite frankly.
Quite frankly, especially given what's happened this year and the way that Brian Daboll has really made his team uber competitive and gritty and just like a nasty team to play against, just a hard team to play against. And they probably have, I would say, they have the makings of a good solid foundation, assuming that I'm hearing also that Daniel Jones and the Giants are close to a contract extension. So for you Giant fans out there that are looking forward to that this offseason, I hear that they're close. The question is it 3 years or 4 years? What does the player want? What does the team want? Can they meet somewhere in the middle? I would tell Daniel Jones, if they offer you a 4-year deal and you have a maximum guaranteed money, significant, I would take that deal because after 3 years, if you're as good as you think you are and you're as good as you've been in this offense and you're only going to get better and they're only going to get better support people around you, hopefully, then after 3 years, they'll go back to the negotiating table again because you're young enough.
Sure.
So, I think it's close. I wouldn't be surprised if something came to fruition relatively soon. I don't know if it's a day or a week or 10 days, but I feel like they're close. And it'd be a nice thing for Daniel. It'd be a nice thing for the team to have that thing locked up and not have to worry about that position and then start worrying about everything else around the team and where Joe Shane thinks he can, fix it and make it right. So I feel that's close, and hopefully that will come to a fruition. So, but here's the thing, G, I got to tell you, the Vikings looked pretty damn good yesterday, Doug. And I know it's against the Bears, and I know it's outside.
I tell you, you've been watching a lot of those comedy routines with your Instagram reels, and I think that's where you're getting some skill here. They looked pretty damn good yesterday.
Yeah.
They played a team who was trying to tank to get the number 1 overall pick.
Yes.
They played their 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks in the football game. All right. So what do you mean looked pretty damn good?
You still got to play. You got to show up and play, and you got to win.
How about the previous week when there was actually something on the line and they had an opportunity to get the 2 seed, and then they would have had Seattle in week 1 and then a home game in the divisionals, so they had won that game and they got their teeth kicked in on national TV. How about that? But when they play the Bears, who are officially the worst team this year, who are trying to tank, they looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, they did.
No, thanks. Okay,
they did.
Good.
They did.
Well,
just telling you what I saw.
The dollar gets you a dollar.
I'm just telling you what I saw, and you want to minimize it. Go ahead and minimize it.
Of course I'm going to minimize it. What are you nuts?
You know what?
The team was trying to tank. They played a team who was trying to lose.
Your team wins the NFC North. Yep. It goes out there.
First team in the history of football, 13 wins, negative point differential.
Point differential, 13. Yep. We all know what they are. I'm trying to build you up here.
You're not going to build me up. It's over.
I mean, I know their defense is fraudulent, and we all understand that.
But I don't see. This is where I will disagree. You can't be a fraud if no one believes in you. There is nobody who believes in them. That you can't be a fraud if nobody thinks you're any good.
You know what's the amazing thing is, as a just somebody who actually played 14 years in the league, and
I've heard that, yes.
And I don't like to throw that out there, but every now and again I like to throw it out there, just in regards to just the reality of what they've accomplished. It's hard to win an NFL game, as the Jets have proven here at the last 6 weeks of the season. It's hard to win an NFL game when you got to go on the road and the other team's got nothing to play for, throwing caution to the wind. You might get guys hurt, as Mike Williams got hurt, as Alex Kappa got hurt in games yesterday. Those are significant players for the LA Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, there are things that happen in games. You can never take any game or any win for granted. It's hard. And Phil says this all the time in the NFL today, and I got to give him a lot of credit. I don't like giving him credit.
Sure.
He says, when you die as a coach, they put those numbers on your tombstone, your one-loss record. And that's why, coaches like Lovie Smith, we're not trying to lose yet. He wasn't. He was trying to win the game yesterday. He wants to win. And it's hard to tell a coach to back off. Now, the GM can say, you're playing this player, that player. and make it happen. And that's the way that you kind of control it, which is what I think that the Bears did with Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles out there, as it's their first year there. So maybe they played Nathan Peterman in their fourth string quarterback, so they would lose, and they would assure at least a shot at the number one, depending on what Houston did.
Yeah.
So I look, it's just hard to tell players and coaches, to throw a game. The point being is that they won 13 games this year. They had so many memorable wins this year, and those 11 one-score wins has to go down as one of the most exciting years in the history of a professional football team and what they accomplished.
Yeah, and that's all it's going to amount to. And as we talked about with the Mets throughout the year, all those exciting moments, the 101 wins. Oh, man, we came in here. What a great summer. It doesn't mean anything when you get your face lit on fire in Atlanta and then again at home against the San Diego Padres. So it doesn't mean you remember these seasons. Now, there's going to be a couple of wins in there in the regular season. I won't forget the Colts comeback and then obviously the Bills game. But this season will be defined by losing to the Giants on Wild Card Weekend. That's what it's going to be. I will be reminded of that for the rest of my life. It's just one of those things. Just like the 2000 NFC Championship game, 41-0. I can never get away from that. Brian Rascona on Friday was reminding me of that just the other. I can't get away from it. Yeah. Tiki Barber, when I see him in the hallway and he's getting ready for Tiki and Tierney, he played in that game. I can't get away from it. This is going to be another thing that I won't be able to get away from. And it might even be worse than all those other times, because I've sat here and I've told you the Giants were going to win 4 games this year and we're going to be horrible. And that group, those guys that I have trashed incessantly, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, are going to go to Minnesota and they're going to beat my team. It's just going to happen. You have to accept it. And I know that you gave me as a guy who's played 14 years in the league. All right, as a guy who's been a Minnesota Vikings fan my entire life, let me tell you something. This is the way it's going to go.
Okay.
Trust me, this is the way it's going to go. And you tried to flip me around in the 2017 NFC Championship game to get me all fired up for that when I told you they weren't going to go on the road and beat the Eagles. And I said, okay, fine. You're right, Boomer. Why waste these opportunities? Why be negative during the week leading up to a football game? They go right down the field on the first drive, score a touchdown, then don't score again the rest of the game, and Nick Foles looks like Joe Montana, and then he goes to the Super Bowl right after that. So it's over. It's fine. Congratulations to the Giants. I actually think now, after what happened yesterday, they're going to go into divisional playoff weekend, and they're going to have a shot at beating the Eagles. That's where my mind is now. My mind is now that the Giants have already moved on to the divisionals, and they have a shot. They're one of the teams that have a shot to go into Philly and beat them. They really do. I really believe that. That's where we're at. We're now starting to write another one of these magical Giants playoff runs because they're already in the divisionals. They're going to play a Philly team that they played really tough yesterday with backups and schmucks and whoever.
All right, you want to know, so how about this? Don't call anybody schmucks. Playing an NFL game,
all right, don't be so serious, for God's sakes. Just move on and give me whatever stat you're about to read.
I'm going to give you a stat. I'm just going to say that you are now basically claiming that the Giants are going to beat a 13-win team, a 14-win team.
No, I said they'll have a really good shot against the Eagles.
And if you really want to channel the great Eli Manning, you go to San Francisco in an NFC Championship game, and you beat another 13-win team, the team that has the baddest defense in the NFL.
You know what?
Could you imagine that if they went on and beat the Vikings, the Eagles, the 49ers, and then beat either the Bengals, the Chiefs, or the Bills in the Super Bowl? That would be awful.
And I did not, by the way, I did not say they were going to the Super Bowl. What I said was they're winning this week, and then they're going to have a chance to beat the Eagles.
I know what you said, but I'm just saying.
I'm not saying now like that all that stuff's going to happen. I just really believe they'll get to the divisionals, they'll have a chance to beat the Eagles. But the Niners, I believe they're very good, and now with the 2 seed locked up and playing at home and not having to go on the road with a rookie quarterback until potentially championship weekend is going to be big for them. But
which doesn't look like it's going to happen.
But let me tell you, we talk about this defense. The last 2 weeks, I don't know.
Well, shaky, that'll be fine.
I know their defensive line is dominant.
They'll be fine.
But they looked awful against the Raiders. And then yesterday, I know that they took off in the second half, but that was more the the Niners offense against that Arizona Cardinals defense. But like in the first half of that game, that defense was unimpressive as well. Like
but their offense is pretty impressive, even with a rookie quarterback.
No, their
really
offense.
amazing.
I'm not talking about their offense.
Okay.
I was just challenging the baddest defense in the NFL. Like they may be, and they may figure it out in the playoffs. But the last 2 weeks, I expected more from them.
Who has a better defense than them?
Yeah, defenses are hard. Good defenses are hard to come by in 2023 NFL football there, Boomer.
How about Brock Purdy, 5-0 as a starter? His team is averaging 33 points per game. His average per attempt, which is a very, very important number, is 8.9. That's a big number at that. That means he's getting a lot of yards per his attempt. I mean, he's got more touchdown passes than both Joe Flacco and Zach Wilson, has played less games.
Yeah, crazy. Absolutely nuts, the run he's been on. All right, so here we are.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.